Shut up and sit down.
Hello, my friend. You are listening to the Dance Studio Scaled podcast, the number one place for innovative marketing, retention strategies, and business growth ideas made just for dance studio owners. Now, this isn't your average business podcast. We're here to shake things up, simplify the hustle, and focus on real, actionable insights. I'm your host, Jen Dalton, and after 30 years of running studios, coaching owners, and scaling businesses, I know one thing's for sure. There's no one size fits all in this industry. You've got the passion, and I've got the tools to help you take it to the next level. So hit that subscribe button, grab a coffee, and let's scale your studio together. Hello, my friend, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Dance Studio Scaled podcast. Okay, I'm starting this episode with a bit of a check-in because I know what this time of year does to a lot of us listening. I know the pressure, I know the constant demands, the no breaks, the late nights. I did it for many, many years. I remember all too well. So this is your official check-in. I want you to make sure that you are drinking water, you are having as much nutritious food as possible. But I realize that, it's all on and happening at the moment, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And early this week, I was having a conversation with a beautiful studio owner, and she said, this year just feels so much heavier and harder, and she's not sure why. And it prompted me, right? We usually feel things are harder when we're about to have a breakthrough, particularly if it's a business related one, a business breakthrough. Things get harder because we're pushing ourselves, we're challenging ourselves, and we're stepping out of our comfort zone. And so I encouraged her, if we can reframe that to getting excited about what's coming next. And I know at the time when you're in the trenches how hard that is, but we just need to keep working through each thing that we need to do. So it's usually the things that we don't want to do, but the things that will continue to move us forward and reach the end of that tunnel. And so it was quite funny and timely that we had this conversation, because it was only last week that I took myself away for what I now call a Reset and Realignment Retreat. And it's purely solo. It's all by myself. Nobody else around me. And I thought in this week's episode, I will take you behind the scenes of what that looks like, what it takes, and why it has been a game changer for me. Now, this is the third year that I've done it. And it started, honestly, like 3 years ago. I was at a place where I was really broken. So I was at the end of the process of selling my studio, which had been going on for quite a while behind the scenes. People didn't know, but that was happening. I was just exhausted physically, mentally, emotionally, because I'd been running at full speed, getting the business, still running the business, setting it up for sale, wanting to make sure that, it was in the best form possible to be handing on. I was also just at the point where I was starting my coaching as well. So I had a few clients. I was working out what that all looked like, was starting the mastermind. I basically just had no capacity left to create. I had nothing left to innovate or plan, which is literally what I preach, right? And so when I was at this point, I just, I was sitting at my desk and nothing was happening because I can't explain it. Unless you've been there, you know what it's like. When you're sitting there, I know how much I have to do. I can have literally a to-do list next to me, but I was still unable to actually get any work done. And so that prompted me to take myself away. I booked a few days completely alone. So no family, no work calls, no interruptions, and it changed everything. It essentially just gave me some space. It gave me quiet time, which then allowed the clarity to come in. It changed my perspective of my mindset. And also, I was able to then regain some energy again. And honestly, that first time going away, it wasn't about luxury. It wasn't a holiday. It was literally about survival. I needed some space to think. And I know so many studio owners who are listening can relate to this. we are pouring everything into our business, into our people, but rarely do we stop and ask, what is it that I actually need? And so that retreat just became a turning point, and not because of what it did, but because of what I was able to stop doing. I stopped reacting. I stopped multitasking. I stopped letting everybody else's urgency dictate my focus. Now, the timing might not be right for you at this time of year because we're absolutely in the midst of it. However, I'm going to go into exactly what it looked like for me, how I prep, and just a simple step-by-step of how to do it. So hang in there, get your pens ready. We're going to make some notes. Okay, so if we fast forward to now, my solo retreat is just part of my planning, part of my year. I'm in a position where I can get away for 4 to 5 nights completely solo. I choose to head to the ocean because that's where I just feel most inspired and creative. Now, you might love the mountains, you might love being in the city or even a farm, but the key is to choose a place that fills your energy tank and doesn't drain it. Now, I also want to just say that I appreciate the position that I'm in right now. I do have older children who are not reliant on me. I have a super capable husband who is able to feed himself. My biggest issue is my dog, and having these capable humans in my house, they can actually take care of my dog for 4 days. I also have a place where I can go. My parents have a place up the coast. They're only there sometimes, and so I do have the ability for the flexibility of that, and I do appreciate how privileged I am for that. But let me just say this, I would still do this even if I didn't have these things, because the return on investment is so huge. The ideas, the decisions, the clarity that comes out of those few days shapes the next 6 to 12 months of my business. So let me talk you through how I prepare. So first of all, you know how much I love a system. You know how much I love a plan. I don't just show up and see how I feel. I create a clear plan before I leave, right down to what I'm working on each day. And this particular trip, so 3 years in, I was even time blocking each of those days. So I was being really productive. It didn't look like that the first year. I wasn't that planned because I think I was more in survival mode and just like getting out of the burnout cycle that I was on. I was doing things to survive. Where this time I went in with so much more intention and I was able to get so much done. Okay, so that's the first thing I do. Second is I prepare and I take all my meals with me. This is not just a reset for my business, it's also a reset for me. So this time of year, where I sit right now, I've done a fair bit of traveling this year. I've done a fair few dance events. I've exhibited, I've presented, I've run the retreat for my mastermind. We've also just come off the back of the business conference in Perth. And so those things take a toll on me personally and my healthy eating and my exercise. So what I do, I take this time also to reset for myself. So that means healthy snacks, healthy food. I actually take all my meals as well. So I literally don't have to think about it when I'm there. I don't have to leave the unit if I don't want to. The goal for me is just 0 distractions. And it's good for a bit of discipline as well, just to get myself back into a healthy habit. The next thing I do is to make sure I take my activewear. Movement for me is a non-negotiable. I like to train or walk every morning before I start to work. And it just clears my head and it keeps my energy steady. I also prioritize rest. Now, I have very busy days. I start nice and early, but by the end of the day, when I'm feeling tired, I switch off. My goal is for early nights. My phone is on silent. Now, I personally find watching Netflix, just like mindless Netflix shows, is a real come down for me and a way for my brain to switch off, because I want to sleep well. I want to wake up refreshed and create from this real place of calm. And the other thing for me is that I work in silence. So there's no background noise, no podcast playing in the background, no music. This is what works for me. And I know some people do like music in the background, and that's totally fine. But for me, just my laptop and my thoughts. It can actually feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to constant noise. But that silence is where then the best ideas come from. I'm just able to hear my thoughts and not be distracted. Okay, so what happens during this time away? So I do treat each day like I am the CEO. I get my morning movement in. I'm having these really deep work blocks, the nourishing food, the rest breaks, and reflection walks. So generally at the end of each day, if I've had a great deep working day, I've got a whole lot of tasks done, I will take myself outside for a walk. Now, the weather wasn't really on my side this year. I was able to get out every morning bar one due to the rain, but then the rain was setting in the afternoon, so I wasn't able to get out. But I just flipped that. And so I took myself onto the veranda, although it was raining. I did a bit of journaling. I had a look at what worked this year and what didn't. I spent the time to review every part of my business. And I asked myself, I spend this time, what do I want to keep? What needs to evolve? And what am I ready to let go of? Another thing I do is I do a lot of big picture creative work. So like designing new offers heading into the new year, planning out podcast themes, or mapping out the next mastermind round. But I also give myself permission just to be, because when we're running at the pace that we do, stillness is where you reconnect with who you are outside your business. Okay, so how can you create your own reset and realignment retreat? If you're thinking about this and you're listening and you're saying, this sounds amazing, but there is no way I could do it, I honestly do get it, because I do remember what it was like, particularly with younger children when you're in the thick of it. But here's the truth. You can do it. You just have to decide that it's important enough to make work. Now, you can start small. Start by booking one night away, or book a weekend at a friend's house, a holiday house, or even take a full day off site. If you can't get away overnight, take a full day off site with your laptop and a notebook, somewhere that sparks that creativity for you. The goal isn't perfection, it really is intention. So pressing pause, to think clearly and to plan instead of react. So let me talk you through a really simple step-by-step of and how I would suggest setting up your own solo retreat. So the first thing that I do, and I would encourage you to do, is just choose a time or a weekend to go. Don't overthink it. Think about the times where maybe you've got downtime with no studio events, you've got no family commitments. That's a good time for you just to sort of reset and go introspectively into your business. For me, it's this time of year. And I mean, it's because I think we go so hard in January. By the time we get to October, we're pretty exhausted. So if you can do it earlier before that exhaustion kicks in, do it. But otherwise, just choose a time and block it into your calendar. The second thing you want to do is find a location that inspires you. So whether that is the bush with a fireplace, maybe it's the ocean or that quiet spot in the city, it needs to be something that triggers your energy and it's able to sort of reignite your inspiration inside. Okay, number 3 is to then find and book your accommodation. This could look like an Airbnb, this could be a hotel, this could be a friend's place or family if you've got family with a spare room, just somewhere, that you can lay your head, somewhere that you feel comfortable as well. but try and have a place where you don't have distraction. And then step 4 is, before you leave, having just that rough plan of what you're going to be focused on. Is it the strategy? Is it content? Is it finances? Is it personal reset? Just have a plan. Number 5 is packing with intention. So as I mentioned, for me, this means health and ease, food prep, activewear, snacks that will support me and support how I feel. And step 6 is allowing for some of that downtime. Reconnect with yourself. What does that look like for you? Are you a reader? Could you take a book away with you? Do you like watching Netflix? Do you like cross stitch? Whatever it is, find something that is not work related that will allow your mind to calm. And then step 7 is really make the most of this precious time. So being present, not filling every moment with tasks, but just allowing space for that clarity to arrive. Because when you step away from the noise, you then see the whole picture again. Okay, so just in closing, this retreat has become one of the smartest things that I do all year. It's not just about the planning, it really is just about realigning and getting back on track, making sure the goals that I'm chasing are matching that life that I want to live. So my challenge to you is this: find that version of what your solo reset and realignment retreat can look like, because you will come back lighter, you will come back clearer and really, truly ready to lead your studio and not just run it in a survival mode. Okay, fam, that is it for today's episode. If you found it helpful, please share it with other studio owners who might also find this information helpful as well. I want you to know that I am truly thinking of you right now in this time. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You do it every year. We get through and we do survive. I just really encourage you to try and find ways to enjoy it, because it really is just part of our process of growth. So until next week, I will see you then. Thanks for tuning in to the Dance Studio Scaled podcast. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other studio owners who would love it too. And let's keep the conversation going. Follow me on Instagram at Jen Dalton for more tips, insights, and behind-the-scenes moments to help you simplify and scale your studio. Until next time, keep dreaming big and taking action. I'll see you back here soon.